Icon Radio, your number one entertainment plug.
All right, so welcome to the first episode of Deep Talk. Deep Talk is a show where we go deep into people and deep into wisdom, deep into life. And my first beautiful guest is Myra.
Hi, Neha.
Hi, Myra.
Mm-hmm.
So Myra, we don't know much about each other, actually. So this is going to be interesting.
Yep.
So my first question to you is this.
Mm-hmm.
How would you describe who you are? Who is Myra?
Myra is a lover of life, a lover of music. Music actually drives everything about me. It drives my mood, my ambition. It drives my workflow. So yeah, my life revolves around music. I'm also a go-getter, to a fault. I'm a mother of two very handsome boys. And I'm a wife. But also being a wife doesn't define who I am.
Just being a mother?
It's part of who I am. It's part of who I am. And I pray that I'll be able to shape my boys into people who I would be proud of, and who they will also be proud of in future. And I'm a student of life. Yeah.
Best role to be, a student.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the student can out achieve the teacher.
For sure.
It's constantly in practice, right?
For sure.
Student's always working.
For
Teacher
sure.
sometimes gets lazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Myra, if you had to pick 3 words that are really, really important to you, 3 qualities, 3 values, which 3 words would they be?
Love, peace, and God.
Love, peace, and God. You know, that's another way to describe who you are. Love, peace, and God. Aside from all the titles and the roles.
Right.
And so maybe you can tell me a little bit about why those are important to you.
Right. When I have love in my life, whether it's family, my husband, my kids, it brings me peace. Yeah. And I find peace in God, and knowing that He is in my life, that He is the moving peace that makes me wake up in the morning, that without Him I am unable to do what I'm doing now. I really rely on His presence in my life for whatever I'm doing. I speak to Him every day when I wake up, before I go to sleep. So that is my connection. To have peace, I need love, and to have that, all of that, I need God.
And so you speak to Him every day?
Every day.
Without fail?
Without fail. And I pray for every aspect of my life. I pray for every person in my life in terms of my family. And He's an integral part of my life. Yeah.
Do you have any particular stories about how God has played a role, like in the physical manifestation of your life?
Do I have stories? I can't really say I have one at the top of my head. But I've had really amazing situations in my life. I believe all this that is happening, especially, because actually I can say this because me and my husband have really been trying to put what we're doing right now, Icon Radio, Icon Records, the photography, videography. We've always tried to do it at some point in my life. I met my husband in 2013, and we started trying to do this on our own in 2015 after many failed partnerships.
For this particular project?
Yeah. especially when it came to the photography and videography. At some point between 2015 and 2016, we knew we had to just do it on our own because we couldn't rely on anybody else. But we were moving at such a fast pace, and I felt every time, especially this year, I felt every time God was telling us no. At first, it was no. Then, as we continued on, we got now our equipment, and now we were getting clients. I wanted to get a studio. He was telling us wait. And I was in a hurry, even like my parents had a piece of land that was just sitting there, and I was telling my husband, let's go use it. He was like, no, the location is bad, and I have this dream. I was trying to, run really fast. So I think God was telling us, wait at that minute. And then finally, I don't know if I'm allowed to curse in your show.
Totally.
Shit hit the fan, 2020. We didn't know what to do. And I was particularly stranded because I was in events. And then I finally get back into media, because media was where my foundation was when I was getting into the workspace. And then while I was doing that, we land on this space, and my husband grabs the opportunity. Then again, we have a setback when something else happened. Then another opportunity now reveals itself in a way now that we can really own the space. And that was when God was saying yes. Yeah. So it's something that my mom always taught me when we were kids. God has 3 answers: no, wait, and yes.
Oh, that's beautiful. That gave me like shivers.
Oh wow.
No,
Right.
wait, and yes.
Yes. So we're at the yes phase. So we always say God has given us that path. He's now given us the opportunity. If we mess it up, it's of our own doing. If it fails, it's of our own doing, because the opportunity is here. We have to seize it with everything. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting you say that, because 2020 was a tough year for a lot of people.
Right.
But it was also a beautiful year, because it was breaking people down and helping them to go back to really what they wanted.
Right.
Come back to themselves, come back to God, which is, the center of our being. And maybe you can tell me a little bit about how you got to this point. Like, what's your story? How did you get to this point of now wanting to do this?
Right. I was actually telling this to somebody else the other day, just last week, because we used to move around in the same circles. I didn't even know we used to move around in the same circles when we were in the media. And she's like, I know you from Sam. And I was like, oh yeah, I know you from KTN. So when I left high school, I was fortunate enough to be discovered for a new opportunity in KTN. So that's where it started for me. But I only lasted there, I think for 1.5 years or 2 years. I didn't last at that job for very long. And
so when was that?
That was 2005. And then also my parents really didn't want me to. They wanted, that thing of finish school, go to work in an office, that structure. And I was like, no, but I, would like to find myself. So yeah, after I lost my job, it was devastating. But I managed to get something else. When I got something else at KBC, it was a gaming show. I think after doing 2 months, the government shut down betting. They said it's betting, the shows that were happening, because there were many at that time. They called it betting, and they shut it down. They said no more betting in the country. So that left me stranded again. So I went back to school, but it wasn't really my thing. I graduated. I was like, okay, fine, I'm done. Here's your papers.
Yeah.
My parents, take it. And then I was in between, I was now I developed a love for karaoke, and then I started hosting shows and stuff like that, and I did it until I went back to media again in 2011, and I still continued on with that. Then I met my husband in 2013, and he was like, you know what, I can't stand having you in bars anymore, men all over you. Well, what? So, and I think you're better as a boss. Yeah, you already know, you're very creative. And that's how Capital Karaoke came about. So we now redefined it to now do it for private parties. We took it away from the bar and said, now we can do it for your events and your team buildings and stuff like that. So we now set a new trend. And then out of that, kiddie karaoke was born. because when I was a kid, I grew up in Sunday school, and I saw the impact that music had on our lives when we were growing up and other kids. And then, we continued on with that until like 2015. Now in 2015 is when the idea for what we're doing now was born. And again, many failed partnerships, and we were relying on others to give us the resources, whether it was the cameras or the manpower, and we learned very many hard lessons along the way. And then till now, this point where
You're now sitting here in your own studio,
yes,
in your own company,
yes,
on your own radio station,
yes, with my own rules,
with your own rules.
Yeah,
It's
amazing.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So you talked about some of the hard lessons.
Right.
What are some of those lessons you learned?
Just not to be. We were very naive. We were very naive, and one thing we realized is everybody looks for number one. Everybody looks out for number one. They always look out for themselves. And the minute that is being tampered with in any way, it becomes very hostile. So we learned how to protect our own as well. Yeah. We also learned how to protect our money. We got played so many times. We have hundreds of thousands of money sitting outside there, and we just can't get it. Yeah. And that was our time and our resources wasted. So we learned how to also how to say no when it doesn't sound good, what it doesn't make sense, what doesn't benefit what we're doing. We said no. When it wasn't benefiting us or the people who worked for us, we said no, because we're also very protective of our workers or our staff or our colleagues, because if they're not happy, there's no productivity, and if they're not content with whatever they're getting, again, there's no productivity. We also learned that status doesn't mean anything. You can have all the wealth in the world and you can have all the resources, but if you're not smart and you're not strategic with how you move, it will never, you can never really move forward. Yeah. And we learned to listen. That's the main thing. I think we came in kind of having an idea, but sometimes we were too rigid about some of our ideas, and we never really listened to what the advice of some of the other people who are seasoned in this. So now we've kind of learned how to listen. Yeah.
Humility.
Humility. Yeah.
I always say that humility is the basic requirement for intelligence. Because if you think you know it all, then you don't have the capacity to learn.
Right.
And if you don't have the capacity to learn, you can't grow. You know, and if you don't grow, you can't get to the next level of your life, right? So very important lessons. So how long has Icon Radio been in the making? How many years?
It was never really a thought to begin with. We were more leaning towards creating TV shows, like Kiddie Karaoke and Capital Karaoke, and then selling them to the stations. Then again, it's just we were on other people's platforms and their rules, and sometimes we get the door shut on us, or the terms were not very reasonable, especially for the amount of work we're putting in. So we never really conceptualized Icon Radio until we set up. In fact, when I'd set up this, when we'd set this up, it was more so that I could fulfill the need for another radio show I was doing, because there was, some issues happening on the other side. Then when we had the launch, everybody was interested. There was a big buzz about this place and what we had to offer. And even when we had an article with Business Daily, this is where they zeroed in on. So we saw the hunger that people had to be able to, create shows and put content out. So that's when we started off with Icon Radio. So it's only been like a month of content.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you guys are doing amazing stuff.
Thank you.
And So if you look at what you're doing, if you look at the, all the things that you've been through in your life, you'll find there's a common thread, right? And for me, that common thread is always like your mission. Do you know what your mission is? You feel like whatever you're doing in life, what is it that you really want to do?
I when I started off, I didn't know, but now I know. I want to build community. I want to build. There's a lot of talent, a lot of talent out here, and we've had so many talented guys coming through here, and they've just never gotten the opportunity. And we want to create that opportunity for them, where they're not being played out there, they're being played here. And that we've made that kind of like a thing now. And then also we're giving guys the opportunity to record at Icon Records, and we're working with amazing people who says we can package them and actually now sell them.
Even people who are not well known.
And even people who are not well known, they're like, we have the passion to do A&R for new talent. So we are lucky to find people who have the same mission that we have and the same drive, and that's to build community, build new voices, and build a new sound. So it's really exciting.
Yeah, and your vibe attracts your tribe.
That's true.
Right? Because you vibrate at a certain frequency.
Yeah.
And then what happens is everything of that frequency starts coming.
Exactly.
In an incredible way, right? Because it's been such a short time, and your studio is busy now.
Yes. Thank God for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because when we came in, we never knew what kind of business we'd get or how soon we would get it. So, we're thankful.
And if you look back at your journey so far, because you're still young, and we don't need to make this about, all the lessons of over 60 years. But if you look back at your journey, what are some of the things that you're most proud of?
The things I'm most proud of is that I took on the challenges, and that even if I failed, I learned from them, and then I just kept on building. I love a new challenge. Like, this is a new challenge for me, and when it succeeds, I'm happy. Like, even with kiddie karaoke, it was a new thing. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to get the music. I didn't know how to set up the equipment. And I didn't know how to get in the customers or to try to, market to them. But within the first year, we got our biggest project, the launch of Next Gen. And we were the ones kind of like driving it. So it was amazing to see the strides we made. And also building the networks. The networks really have been our net worth. We've thrived off of referrals, even here. Yeah. You came in because, you met us through someone.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think, just getting through the challenges and, I have sleepless nights and whatever, but to see it was all worth it in the end is always a great thing for me. Yeah.
And, when we were speaking before we started, you talked about, how you love doing things that you're afraid of.
Yeah.
And because this connects to, you and the challenges, right? Yeah. And you're most proud of taking on the challenges. Yes. And you said you love taking on challenges.
Yes.
And, for me, you were saying also that you also love doing things that you're afraid of. This is not the norm for most people.
No.
Can you tell us a little bit about maybe what you can share about that? So, like, whoever's, watching or listening, maybe we can learn a little bit about that, from you about how to look at fear in a good way. Because most of us, or a lot of us, at least for me, when there's fear, sometimes it can paralyze me.
Yeah.
I
get that. I get a lot of anxiety. Like, my anxiety is really bad. And I think the person who's really held me together is my husband. We sit down and take stock a lot about some of the things we've had to go through. There are times we are really bitter with, certain situations. We're bitter with ourselves. And then we say, you know what? We'll push through. There are times like we have to even just give each other that, with the words. We know it might not help at that particular moment, but it's what drives us. And we'll say, okay, we wake up the next day determined, and we say, this is our course of action. This is what we're going to do to get from here to here. that's what has been the thing that has made me courageous to take on the things I'm afraid of. Yeah, because I have somebody to rely on. I have somebody, if I fall back, he'll be able to catch me, and vice versa. Yeah, so he's been the reason why I've been able to try new things.
Wonderful. That's beautiful. And for the single people out there,
Right.
Yeah.
For the single people, again, I can't say everything is him, because there are times he's been telling me, if you do that, you're on by yourself.
Yeah.
You're on your own.
And do you still do it?
I still do it. I'll be like, okay, we'll see.
Yeah.
And I know you'll join me.
Yeah.
And sure enough, there are enough times I've pushed through, and it has succeeded in a way that he's like, oh yeah, I can do this. Let's do this together. So, for the single people, it's self-drive. That even if you fail, you say, nothing is a regret. It's a lesson learned, and I'll take it from there, and I'll keep pushing. Yeah, so it's just that you have to, before you're motivated by somebody else, you have to motivate yourself and know that this is where I want to go. This is how I'll get it. So sometimes, like I said before, sometimes I can be too ambitious to a fault. Sometimes I've been, accused of bulldozing over others to try and get to it. But eventually it comes together. Yeah.
So are you willing to offer your phone number for anybody who's scared about doing something right now? They can give you a shot. Or you can come through to the studio.
Yes, because it depends on who's reaching me.
I'll be calling you sometimes. I'll be like, I'm so scared.
Yeah, they can reach out to me. You can, email me, myra@iconradio.co.ke.
Okay.
Yes, I think that would be safer than the phone call.
Yeah, myra@iconradio.co.ke.
Yes.
All right. Just reach out to her if you need a little bit of encouragement.
Yes.
I
respond, by the way.
Yeah.
I respond to everyone.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good to know. And so this word courage, what is it to you? What is courage to you?
Courage is it's the ability to be afraid of the unknown, but also the ability to kind of face it or take it on. I think that's
so it's
my
like
definition.
Being afraid but doing it anyways.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily about being good with the fear and being fine and centered and all. You can be panicking, but you're still walking it.
Yeah, because there's no situation that's known. There's nothing you can plan and know that this is the definite end or this is the definite point that you will reach. I think everything is unknown. No matter how much you plan, you can't plan everything. The only thing I think you can plan is maybe a visit to the bar. I'm gonna have a drink. That's what you can plan. But
even then, you never know.
You never know.
You run out of fuel, you're pulled over by the police, whatever happens.
It's
somebody calls you to go somewhere else.
Yeah. It's there's nothing that you can truly plan to an absolute
certainty.
Point. Yeah.
You're right. You're so right. Actually, it's funny because for me, I really learned this also just maybe in the last 1 or 2 years. You think that you're safe. It's just a mirage. It's just in your mind. Because at any point the roof could fall down. There's a possibility.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we have all this stuff like insurance and all these things that are scaries or whatever it is that makes us feel okay, we're good. We've got money in the bank. We could have a financial crash. The currency could lose all its value.
Exactly.
So I really started to learn that actually it's just an illusion to think that you're in a safe space or in a safe place in your life and that nothing, because at any moment anything can happen.
Exactly.
Right? Which is funny because I was riding a boda here because, it's too much traffic with the highway. And I had this thought because this is the dude who just came out right in front of us, and this boda driver was going everywhere, and I'm like, and I was thinking about telling him safety first, but then I did a double take. I'm like, wait, is safety first? Should safety be first in life? Because we're taught that safety first, right? Put your seatbelt on. But if you look at all the great things that people have done in life, it was not safe. Like, I was thinking about Martin Luther King. He did not tell his people who were marching, safety first,
No.
you know? Or Gandhi, or any of the revolutionaries, or
Right.
even any of the, you know, entrepreneurs who have made it. Or, you know, there's been... So I feel like it's really... Life is not really about safety first, although I don't want people to now start, you know, jumping out of
Taking
windows.
risks.
But what do you think about risk-taking? What's your take on that?
It has to be measured. Yeah, every risk has to be measured. There are times I have taken risks and I've spent all my money on that particular risk, thinking that I would be able to gain from it, and then I end up crying at home because I don't know what the next step is. So,
And if you just take that experience, right? So even those experiences, did you find those experiences valuable, even though
Yeah.
you took the risk?
for sure.
So you don't regret.
No,
the
I
risk?
don't regret. In fact, I never regret anything.
That's a very good quality.
Yeah, I take it as a lesson, and everything I've ever failed at or succeeded, I've learned from it. Even this venture itself, there are times when I've been told there's no this, there's no that, and I wanted to succeed so much that I end up spending everything on it, and then I have nothing to take home to the kids, you know. So I have learned to, you know, kind of at least say it's okay. If I can't do this, it is fine. I will find another way, but not to put myself into too much of a problem that I can't get out of it. So that's why at first I'll be like, yeah, take all the risks, you know. It'll if it makes sense, it'll sort itself out. But now I'm taking more strategic. I'm being
Decisions.
strategic.
Do you think that's a lot to do with having kids?
Yes. Kids change everything. You literally have to think about the next day and the day after next after that, because you have people who depend on you, and you have people you have to think about how are they going to get by if you make this kind or that kind of a decision. Like, I used to be able to, like, even with my first kid, I used to be able to drink on Saturdays and say, oh, I'll wake up and, you know, handle the next day. But now I'm like, nope. You know, I'd rather not at all, because now I have 2 kids who I have to look after. So my life has changed because of my kids. My movement, my way of thinking, my interactions have all changed because of my kids.
Do you want to share a little bit of, like, maybe what is the biggest, like, because for me, my son made me grow. Like, he just evolved me. You know, he was the genesis of my evolution,
Right.
Into myself, you know. Do you what would you say is like the thing that your kids really have done for you?
They've taught me responsibility. They've taught me responsibility. They've shown me how to love more. I think in some situations I was selfish, and they've kind of, you know, made me become a better person. They've taught me patience, because, you know, with kids you need a lot of patience.
Yeah, for sure.
That patience at least has spilled over into other aspects of my life. And they've taught me how to be understanding. There are situations, even in family, I never was. And I always was told, what if this was your child? Would you tell me to make the same decisions? And now I understand. I'm like, I would do anything for my boys. No matter what they did, no matter what I felt was wrong, I would do anything to, you know, help them out of a situation or build them up. So now I've developed a better sense of understanding. Yeah.
And so, I guess you could see this as a question from a motherly perspective, from the mother, you know, the mother figure that you are. Also, you're the entrepreneur, you're the music lover, you're the God devotee. You're a lot of things, you know. But, you know, Kenya today got a lot of young people living different lives, different circumstances. If you could dream of one thing that you would like to create for them, what would it be? No limits. No limits to this.
For me, it's always been wealth, generational wealth. I think that's the first. I don't know. It's always. I think it's something that has come from, like, even from the time of our parents. If you're wealthy, you're able to give your kids anything, and therefore they'll be happy. But also, apart from wealth, it's how to gain it. I really want them to have that work ethic and have pride in whatever they've worked for themselves. So I want to be able to create for them limitless opportunities, but with decisions that they can make to enhance themselves.
So it's not really about the wealth. It's about the opportunities.
Yes.
That's what you really want for people.
Yeah. So at first it was about the wealth, but the more we discussed about it with my husband, we were like, okay, yeah, we'll give them, but we'll give them in a way that they can feel proud of that they've earned it, that it's something that they know that it's the path they want to take in future and secure it for themselves and their family, because that's what my husband's father did for him. Yeah, he felt like, oh yeah, my father is wealthy and he's not giving me this, that, and the other, whatever. But his father was like, I want you to learn how to take joy in what you're doing for yourself. And that is how. And I'm glad that we're both on the path of entrepreneurship, because now we both hold those values. Yeah.
And how is it working with your husband?
Oh, it's not easy. It's not.
Yeah.
The times
I want to say it's not easy living with my husband,
That too. Literally, it's that step first of moving in, and you don't know. Luckily, like, I'm very grateful. Like, I never listened to my parents. And I moved in with my husband before I got married to him.
Me too.
Knew.
Yeah.
So sometimes traditions are just that, traditions. But it's not the easiest. I'll be very honest. We butt heads a lot. Our partners are just rolling their eyes every time we get into it in front of them. They even tell us, move it away.
Take it home. Yeah.
But it's for a common purpose. It's for the wealth of the business.
Right.
Whenever we butt heads, it's because of the business. But then now...
You don't butt heads over the creative aspects.
That too. We're both very headstrong people. We both know what we want. We both know how we want it to happen, so we get to it. Sometimes even the resources are something we fight over. But we have an end goal, a common end goal. So no matter what, we know even if we're arguing because of that thing. What we're trying to get to.
So do you think that it helps you guys to have a common, goal? Does it help your relationship in some ways? Because a lot of us, we have different lives, right? With our partners, they're doing completely different things.
Yeah. It does. And I'll say this, there are enough times where we look back and we kind of... there are times where, like, why did we get into this together? Is it really helping our purpose? There are times where we, are like, should we continue on? But eventually we find ourselves back to each other. There are times even we spend weeks not talking to each other because of, this one thing that we fought about. But yeah, we eventually find our goal is what brings us
together.
Yeah.
So what's your wisdom for people who are out there, like if you could drop one wisdom for loving a man, what's the wisdom?
Patience. A lot of patience. Patience enough to hold your tongue. Patience enough to withstand situations. And then just love through all of it, through the farts, through the times when they miss the hamper and it's right there.
Yeah, oh my gosh.
Through the hard-headedness, through the tantrums, through the loving moments, the peaceful moments, the moments when he just lets you cry. Yeah. You just have to, have it, just patience. Patience.
I can't wait for him to hear this interview.
He knows. He knows. I think we speak over. I think even he's had TV interviews where he's talked about a relationship, and he's talked about where he's had to understand, especially when I was pregnant last year and during the COVID time. It's the time he had to have that conversation with the host, and he was like, I did not understand this woman. I did not understand why she was crying, why she was depressed, and it took others to have this conversation for me to learn through others.
Yeah.
So he knows. I think we openly express ourselves to each other. Yeah.
It's beautiful. Yeah, it's not easy, being at the office, being at home.
No.
But there's a reason. Like I always feel like, that saying from, I think it's a wedding vow, like, whatever God has joined together shall never be torn asunder. So for me, it also applies so much to life, like whatever is willed, no man can get in between what God's will is.
Yeah.
And, and so it's God's will for you guys to be here and sometimes butt heads.
Yeah.
But pursue this dream.
Yeah.
That's giving so many people a voice, and it's giving me the ability also to do something I'm passionate about, which is helping people to elevate themselves,
Which is amazing,
Yeah, like that's something I'm really passionate about.
Right.
Having said that, right, when we discussed doing this, you were curious about these cards.
Yes.
So I brought them with me today. So I want to explain how they work. Okay. So they're called tarot, but really they're just wisdom. I'm all about wisdom. Wisdom and power, my two things.
So we won't see about death.
No, even death, it's just like, even if you see something like, I don't know if there's a card called death here, but what is death? Yeah. Death is like, it's a part of you that is dying, and then it's about rebirth. In the Hindu system, we have the one overall source energy, or what people call God, right? And he's called Brahman. But beneath that, you have three forms of the one.
Right.
So there's three manifestations of the one energy. The first is Shiva, destroyer. That's about death, right? But destroyer of darkness. So we get afraid of destruction, but actually there's no creation unless old is destroyed. Right? This building, people had to leave, their business had to be destroyed in some way in order for something to be created. So that's like the taxi community in some ways were destroyed for Uber and Bolt.
True.
So that's how life works.
Right.
The second, of course, is creation, and the third is sustenance. So the life giving, like the continuation.
Right.
So that's what death, if you did have a death card, it's really about the end of something, which means the beginning of something else. So there's nothing to fear. And for me at least, I don't use these cards for prediction or anything like that, because to be honest, I think it's not wise to know what's coming, because when you know what's coming, it will inevitably mess it up.
Right.
You'll be like, where is it? So what happens
sense.
when you're looking for something in the future, you're like, where is it? You're missing what's happening here, so you're not doing anything. So if you're not doing anything in the present, you're not allowing anything to come through.
So you don't believe in the zodiac signs and stuff?
No,
like
you
that,
can't.
the prediction of...
Yes, I know that I don't believe in it.
Yeah.
But I don't want to know what's going to happen, everything in my life, and when it's going to happen and how it's going to happen. Because I feel like I start getting so attached to the future that I can't be in the present.
Right.
That's for me.
No, I'm with you. I also don't read prediction.
I mean, once in a while it's nice to get some assurance. You can go and say, what does it look like? But also we have to understand that. So today you're at this level of consciousness, right? So these are the possibilities that can happen for you. So when you do a reading that's futuristic, then you're going to be able to get what's in this realm. But if you change or you elevate your consciousness, you're at a different level and your possibilities have already changed.
Right.
So also in that way, nothing is set in stone.
I like that.
So I use these cards when I have dilemmas, I just want some wisdom or some guidance. And how do these cards work, and why does it make sense to use them? You see, in every moment, there's all possibilities. I could open the cards here, I could open the cards here, I could open the cards here, or anywhere. But I'm going to open them somewhere.
Right.
If you understand the idea of God, we go into this a little bit in some different ways and at different times, but then you understand that force, that energy is in charge of everything that happens, everything that happens in all the cosmos, which means that even this is destined, whatever it is, right?
Right.
So it's a way for you to connect with information that is important for you in this moment through divine possibility. Does that make sense? You know? So if you want to pick one?
Yeah.
All right, let's pick one. So what you can do if you want, if you feel like, you can take the cards and you can shuffle them.
Okay.
And anything you want to put in there, just put it all in there. Like when
Okay.
you're shuffling, just put it all in there. And then
Okay.
we'll pick.
Okay.
All right?
All right.
And I may read from here, but I also may add.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's already been
Picked.
Yeah.
All right, 2 cards came up for you. All right,
Yeah.
let's read 2, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, look at this. New
I like that.
vision.
Uh-huh.
All right, shall I go and show it to the camera?
Yeah, please
New
do.
vision, right? So this, guys, it's a card. It's a beautiful card called New Vision. Look at that. Yeah, beautiful. So let's look at this one first.
Okay.
So you got 2 major cards. So the ones with Roman numerals, they're major cards. So they're very powerful cards. They're like power cards.
Okay.
So that means that like it's a big thing.
Nice. I like big things.
Yeah, it's a big thing. So you can take a look at that. Let's go
Okay.
to it's number 12, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, anybody can use cards, you know, because you just have to read what's going on.
Right.
So I might skip some parts when I don't feel it's appropriate. So it says, when you open up to the ultimate, immediately it pours into you. You are no longer an ordinary human being. You have transcended. Your insight has become the insight of the whole existence. Now you are no longer separate. You have found your roots. Otherwise, ordinarily, everybody's moving without roots, not knowing where their heart goes on receiving energy, not knowing who goes on breathing in them, not knowing the life juice that is running in them. Your inner being, when it opens, first experiences 2 directions, height and depth. And then slowly, as this becomes your established situation, you start looking around and you spread into all directions. Okay, so you can take a look at the card. The figure on this card is being born anew, emerging from his earthbound roots and growing wings to fly into the unbounded. The geometric shapes around the body of the figure show the many dimensions of life, simultaneously available to him. The square represents the physical, the manifest, the known. The circle represents the unmanifest, the spirit, pure space. And the triangle symbolizes the threefold nature of the universe, manifest, unmanifest, and the being who contains both, that is the human being. Now you are presented with an opportunity to see life in all its dimensions, from the depths to the heights. They exist together, and when we come to know from experience that the dark and difficult are needed as much as the light and easy, then we begin to have a very different perspective on the world. By allowing all of life's colors to penetrate us, we become more integrated.
It's kind of like the conversation we've had today.
Yeah.
Huh?
That's the power of divine probability. You see that?
Wow.
This really was, totally relevant to our conversation. So the second card is the Lovers. Interesting too, right?
Yes.
Here you go, people.
It's interesting.
Lovers. Can you see that? Beautiful. Right? So let's put this in front of you there. Okay, so also a major card, right? The lowest love is sex. It is physical. The highest refinement of love is compassion. Sex is below love. Compassion is above love. Love is exactly in the middle. Very few people know what love is. 99% of people unfortunately think sexuality is love. It is not. Sexuality is animal, and it certainly has the potential of growing into love, but it is not actual love. If you become aware and alert, then sex can be transformed into love. And if your meditativeness becomes total, absolute, love can be transformed into compassion. When your love is not just a desire for the other, when your love is not only a need, when your love is a sharing, when your love is not that of a beggar, but an emperor, when your love is not asking for something in return, but is ready to give for the joy of giving, then the pure fragrance of love is released. What we call love is really a whole spectrum of relating, reaching from the earth to the sky. At the most earthly level, love is sexual attraction. Many of us remain stuck here. But the biggest problem with this is that it never lasts. As we mature, we begin to experience the love that exists beyond and honors the unique individuality of the other. We begin to understand that our partner often functions as a mirror, reflecting unseen aspects of our deepest self and supporting us to become whole. This love is based in freedom, not expectation or need. Its wings take us higher and higher to the universal love that experiences all as one. Love is the pathway to God, you know. And love is a mirror. You can see these two figures. Love is a mirror for ourselves. How do you feel about all that?
It defines me.
Yeah.
All of it defines what we just discussed. The questions you were asking. So I guess it was, I don't know if you felt the vibe or
I didn't do anything.
Because it eventually led to this. So
Yeah.
it's quite interesting. Yeah. It's really dope. And I love the new vision one. Really love
That's
it.
really where you are. I was going to ask, one of my questions for you today is where you are in your journey.
I think it's just been described with that card.
Yeah. New vision.
New
Place of
vision.
new vision. And
Yeah.
that's a beautiful place to be.
Yeah.
And I really wish you all the best.
Thank you.
You know?
Thank you.
And I'm glad to be a little part of the journey.
Yeah. This is amazing. For a first session that I've never done anything like this before. This was really good.
Good. I'm
Yeah.
glad.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
glad.
Yeah. I was a little bit skeptical, but now I'm a believer.
Oh, just two cards.
It's
you're
cool. Yeah, no, it's cool. It's cool.
It is very cool,
yeah,
isn't it?
Yeah, because I was just shuffling and then it...
Popped out. That's the way it is.
Great.
All right, Myra, it was so nice to get to know you.
Nice to get to know you as well. I love the conversation. It was
Yeah,
great.
me too, man. I learned. And I
Great.
appreciate.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.